I am just cranking this up. Bear with me. Hi. Sorry, I'm just trying to get my comments rolling so I can see them easily. Because otherwise it's hard. There we go. It lives. So this way I can see the comments. Morning. Yeah, it's probably like midnight over there or something. Sorry guys. A weird time to do this stuff, I'm sure. But there we go. It is Australia. I was just profiling a Mora using the KME system, which is interesting on the old arm, that's for sure. And I needed a bit of a break, so I thought I would go live and show you what's coming up for the channel while my shoulder recovers a bit. I'm up to 300 grit on the KME stone, Mora-ing away. It's somewhat even across the bevel, but it's not going to be perfect, which is a bit disappointing. I think the arm adds just a little tiny bit of angle that really starts to show when you've got these fat bevels. So there we go. Hey, sharpening the Lansky. Good job, James. The Lansky is nothing to turn your nose up at. There's a completely capable little system there. KME is just like a super overcooked version of it. So pretty cool. Headhunter Fox. Yeah, because I always check what time it is in Ann Arbor because that's where Nick lived. No, he's moved, but he's always message him from place to place, time to time. So yeah, got done stropping. I wish I was at stropping. I'm not even at the films yet. I'm going to be working away 300 grit and then 600 grit, and I usually spend ages on 600 and then 1500 because the big ass scratches from the beast stone, the 50 grit stone, just take forever to get out. Just they go deep, which is what you want, but too deep to easily be able to just polish out. So yes, what I thought I'd do is I've got a whole bunch of new stuff, and I have an unboxing of something that is crazy cool that I'm going to show everyone and unbox live, because one of my viewers, Chris, has sent me something awesome. We had this organized a while back, and then all of a sudden it's here, so cool. But anyway, I'm going to show you the knives that are next first, sort of the next things I'll be looking at on the channel. So starting up, I've got another Hogue knife. The front of your shirt's on my nose. I think it's the mirror effect. So another Hogue knife is next. So this is the EX02. I had the EX04 review I just put up, carried that for a couple of weeks. That's a pretty cool knife. It's like as I said in the review, like a beefy version of the Spidey Chef. This one is, it's not as nice. I don't like it as much as the EX04. This one has a really super rough G10 handle, and it just has a liner lock that's a little bit, spoilers for the review by the way, a liner lock that's just a bit less fun to play with than the button lock. But yeah. That's true. I am going to do, BP69, I'm going to do some 50 grit edges and see if they even are edges or if it's more like a serrated file, who knows. But yeah, I'm interested in that too. When the Rex 121 testing comes around, once I get a whole bucket of rope again, I might even have a crack at it with a few different rough grits. Hey George, how are you? So at any rate, 154 cm, another Hogue, a liner locking Hogue. This is the EX02. This one, it's a nice little design and it feels pretty nice in the hand. But yeah, just a couple of little things. It's got a pretty firm little liner lock, and the flipper is just like a really odd size. I don't know if you can see that. Odd shape and size, really. It's kind of, it's a real, as Nick would say, a pocket pecker. So, but it flips okay. Still doesn't feel super fluid. Just a bit of an interesting one. So that's next. Well, not next maybe, but you know, a few away. Yeah, I guess I'm always very conscious of, liner locks are good. I'm always very conscious of sort of saturating brands. When I had some Kizelyars on before, I just had like so many of them, and I didn't want to just keep going through. And I know this is from someone who Spyderco's the hell out of my collection, but that's mainly because they got cool steels. At any rate, so yeah, I'll get to the Hogue, this other Hogue, in a little while, but it's a good knife, maybe just not for me. We'll see. Next one, check this out. This is the Spyderco Caribbean Salt. Caribbean? Ooh. Yeah, I've done a review on the Benchmade bug out, Gilding Edge. You can check back and see that one. You sent me a message about audacious concept knives and some unnamed carbon steel. All right. What was that on? On Instagram? Facebook's the worst one to get me on because I check that very sporadically because Facebook just kills me. I just can't stand it. Every time I log on, it's just busy. Same steels with different companies to see heat treats the best. Yeah, I guess with the same, what I need to do that is to attack it, to attack it with the same system exactly, I guess. So yeah, you're right. Having Spyderco S30V, Benchmade S30V. Who else makes S30V? Yeah, you're right, but for sure, it's something I'd like to do. But as I always say, I only got so much time. The Caribbean Salt is another one of my on one of my videos. All right, I'll look into it. LC200N, I'm liking this steel. Everyone knows that I like this steel, and this is a cool knife. It's really got a nice drop shadow and drop handy vibe. I've been a bit clumsy today. Probably a bit of fatigue from. Oh, and I did my my 3V polished versus coarse rope cut, which is just editing now. So, or not editing, uploading now. So that'll be up really soon. Probably once I finish this, I will hit publish, and you'll be able to see how that went. Sorry, I just completely klutzily dropped this. It's fine. Yeah, LC200N is great stuff. Tony Scullambrini just did a review on the Spidey Chef and a review on the steel, and he thinks the same. He gave the Spidey Chef a perfect score on everydaycommentary.com. If you read that particular nugget of knife goodness, I would definitely look him up. But yeah, he likes it too. And yeah, LC200N, I would 3Vs be better with a polish. Do you guys want spoilers? Hey Stassa, how you going, Nick? All right. Do you guys want spoilers for the rope cut test? 3 yeses will get spoilers. One yes spoilers. 2 yeses spoilers. Alrighty, yes, 3V does do markedly better. So enough for you to say that it is an improvement to do it with a polished edge. So not huge, but enough for you to say, yeah, despite my various retardations that may manifest themselves in my test, it's comfortable enough for you to say, yes, 3V is most likely a better off mirror polish finished, or as polished as you can get. And then I sort of go on to say that lots of the woodworky types also seem to prefer polished edges. I would imagine they make some cleaner cuts in wood and whatnot. So yes, it is a good steel for polish, but it does absolutely fine with the coarse as well. So yeah, it's a good little video. Now, what was the question before? Do I still carry the American Lawman? Yes, I like the American Lawman a lot. I still carry it. Probably getting a little bit less love these days as I've had a few more knives come in. This one is sort of carrying it where I'm not supposed, where I'm, sorry, not supposed, I don't know why I said that. This one is carrying where I would usually carry the Lawman, because it's kind of another big sort of hard usery knife, really, really nice. No, I don't have a leather strop. I don't have a leather strop for my KME. I've got a leather strop like in my shed and stuff, but I've just been stopping at the film, so I may well move on to a strop. I might pick up one of their kangaroo leather ones. Jeez. Am I interested in the best edge tester? I don't know. It would definitely be a different kind of test. So you would just literally sharpen, cut rope, and then put it in the best edge tester and see how the degradation's gone. It's an interesting idea. It's pricey though, so I'm not sure. Yes, thank you for that. The 14C28N is one of the better budget steels for sure. Now I'll just cycle back through the questions. Lower angle test on some D2. Yes, I just need to get some D2. Likes H1 but wears fast. I agree. Best Jack Fanboy 3V is the best you've been exposed to so far. Yeah, it is good for pretty much all purposes, and you know what? It's not super rust prone in my experience anyway, and I'm not out fighting the elements with it all day or anything like that. I'm just a usual dude, but as far as I can tell, like, you don't need to do a great deal to it apart from just keep it dry, and it seems to do just fine. So yeah, 3V is a really good mix of a whole bunch of different qualities. Tactical Center, you missed. I was just talking about redoing a Mora, my classic bushcraft black. I'm KMEing it. It's a weird way to do a Mora because they are sort of designed to just go with bench stones, but so I'm KMEing my Mora, and I just had a sore arm, so I thought I would go on the old live stream for a little bit, kill some time. But yes, and just other questions about what's going on. I've got a Hogue knife that's up next, which I'm not loving as much as the other Hogue knife I just reviewed, and also the Caribbean Salt was where I was up to as well. So this is a really, really nice knife. Definitely on par with the Paramilitary 2. I actually like the blade shape a bit better, but it's kind of huge. So yeah. Did I see the Dinos beyond 17? Yes, you can do a mod to your KME and get beyond 17. I'm generally making those really fine edges. I'm generally happy to use the Tormek for, but I'm sure this is just going to keep going and just get more and more creative. I'm sure I'll do all sorts of odd things with it. But yes, I did see Dino's review. Dino's a good bloke, good YouTuber. Need to come to the Sydney Knife Show. Yeah, I said this about shows before. Yeah. The Sydney one, I think, is actually probably our largest one, if I'm not correct. If I'm correct, I think you get some brands there. The Adelaide one is pretty much a custom show only, and I'm just not interested in custom knives. Just straight up, not interested in making them, not interested in much to do with that at all. But the Sydney one does look cool. But then there's the whole thing. I'm not the best in crowds. I'm very comfortable in this format, but I'd probably be a bit less exuberant. I'd probably be a bit of a letdown in person, I would say. What's my... You can KME a Scandi. Well, that is what I'm trying to test, Tubey McTubington. I'm going to see if I can KME a Scandi. Let's have a look at how I'm doing so far. So, you can sort of see, I did colour this in with Sharpie before. You can see at the top, there's still some Sharpie that I'm not managing to wipe off. And it's strange, like if I adjust it to go more towards the edge, then the top doesn't get wiped off. But if I try and wipe off that top part with the stone, then the edge isn't touched. So it's like it's almost got a slight curve to it. It's a bit strange. So I'm just fumbling my way through it. But yeah, as I said, it's killing my arm. I could wear a Heisenberg mask and be all secret. Irish Sailors, what's my best edge angle for everyday use? I just like the 15, 16, 17s. The crazy thin ones are cool just as proof of concepts. But yeah, I like to keep it a bit more normal. As someone who can just go, yeah, what's the... you know, most easy replicable thing with my KME, which I can keep indoors. I don't have to sneak up to my shed to Tormek and all that sort of stuff. Where are we? As someone from a gun-free communist country, what do you think of the gun aspect of the EDC verse? Guns are they're interesting tools and they look cool. I can see how it's exactly like knives in terms of like obsessing over the different steels and materials and how they're held. I'm not anti-gun by any sense. It's quite interesting. I think if America was come and spend any degree of time in Australia, it just how little it's on the national psyche is just crazy. So I get it a lot from America, but it's a bit like how you guys probably don't think too much of, a bit like how us in the EDC world don't think too much about phone chargers as part of our EDC, or just it's another just separate thing. Not a bad thing, but yeah, just really not in the forefront. But I can definitely see, and from an enthusiast mindset. The same way I'm not into watches, you know. I have one watch, it does the job. Yeah, it just doesn't factor into my mindset. But when I look at it, I can see, it's like when I look at watches, I can say, oh, I can see why people get into watches, because they are, you know, there's such complexity to them and they're working machines, and it's cool, it's engineering and it's art. And I can see that with guns. I guess guns are probably a bit less art, correct me if I'm wrong, but great engineering and, you know, great... machinery, and I can certainly see the appeal for sure. Right, needs more basil. He will turn up at some point, I'm sure. I'll fetch him later if he doesn't. Any field sharpeners? I've had a look at that Worksharp field sharpener. I might pick that up at some point. So I'm just scrolling back through the questions. Should I get the 110V or the S30V Paramilitary 2? I've noticed the 110V is about only slightly more expensive, so I'd get that. That's out in Australia anyway. My biggest folder, sorry Gilded Edge, I missed your question a while ago. Right now it is probably this Caribbean. I'm not into the huge folders that I actually own, like the Hogue was a loaner. This is probably my biggest. I'm not a huge folder guy. Let's have a look. Going back down. How many orders of magnitude better is the KME than the Lansky? It's probably at least... I mean, you can do all the same stuff. It doesn't give you any more powers, really. Slightly more variability, because you can... This is a fluid thing here, so you can angle like much more... you can angle much more specifically, but then it's still very much dictated by how far away the knife is sticking out from the clamps. Really, the Lansky and the KME do the same kind of thing. The KME just has these big fat stones. You can do cool things like put this stopper on here so you can't pull it any further than it needs to, so you don't hop off the blade. The stones are of much better quality, plus the films. I'd say 5 times better if you have to make the cheats maybe, but still absolutely fine to use a landscape. Served me well, you know, for a long, long time. Righto, need more basil, got that. Field sharpener's got that. Don't get into watches. Nick says the same thing, Gray. 20C versus M390. I haven't done enough. You'd have to do a lot of extensive testing, I think, to be able to make a clear distinction between the two of them. They perform very similarly. They're both great. But yeah, I would reckon I'd have to get like 5 knives of each, do, you know, a whole bunch of different stuff, and even then I would suspect the differences would be marginal. Some guns, it's history to like with mil serps. Not sure what that means. Stassa, it is 2:15 p.m. here on the 23rd of July. So we're a little bit ahead. Nothing's happened though, no spoilers, no Earth spoilers, the North Koreans haven't attacked or anything like that. That's how it works, isn't it? Do I plan on doing a comparison of polished and toothed edges on cheaper steels? Yeah, for sure. I'll get there. I'll just have to do one at a time. And yeah, I'm using shitloads of rope lately, just chewing through the stuff. So like even 3V just now, just used almost like a whole hank. How have I got left? Oh, maybe 2/3 of a hank. So it'll happen. It'll happen. Now where are we? So yeah, tactical's right. 20CV, M390 and 204P are nearly exactly the same. And you're right, any difference would be so probably company differences or heat treatment differences rather than differences in the steel. You could probably get all 3 to do the same thing with the right treatment. Yes, the clamp with the gimbal ball. I didn't know this was called a gimbal ball. Thank you. That's a cool little word too, gimbal. Cool. Wish list from Blade Show. Probably the Spyderco Capara for Alistair. Alistair's knife. He's an Australian dude. He's in a couple of the Spyderco groups. It looks like a good knife. It looks Spidey Chef-like. It looks like a cross between the Spidey Chef and the Police, but obviously unique enough to be but it looks like it might handle a bit like those two. Unique enough to be very interesting to me at the very least. But apart from everything else, I didn't really pay a huge amount of attention, and nothing that's really stuck with me since then, I guess. Ever tried to get a rope company to sponsor me? No. Grunts should though, because geez, I give them a lot of press. But all I can really comment on is how easily their rope cuts, which probably isn't what they're trying to prove. They're probably trying to prove how strong their rope is. So yeah, there we go. Do I have a tactical clothespin? Is that what you mean? No, I don't. S110V and chipping. I haven't really noticed a great amount of chipping with it. Michael Christie got some carbide tear out in some, but check out Big Brown Bear. He's beat the shit out of some S110V. I'm sorry, yeah, Big Brown Bear is what he's going by now. Yeah, Sean has kicked the crap out of S110V, and it seems fine. Like it seems, unless you're doing unreasonable stuff with it, but if your EDC knife, I don't know, I don't see the issue. I've had a few S110V Spydercos now, and I've done pretty odd things with the edges, and they're okay. Yeah, BP won't chip from normal use. I'd be pretty happy to get behind that as well. Rex 45 Spyderco Paras. Rex 45 is almost analogous, as far as I'm aware, to Hat 40. So that should be a good steel and a good. I assume they're laminating it. A good. No, Rex. Yeah, it is very similar to Hat 40. It should be almost analogous to its performance, I would say. So good stuff. And I love the orange. Orange is good. Do I like the Spyderco Caribbean or the S110 better? I like the Caribbean more. Spoilers for that. Paras aren't my favorite knives. They're good, they're solid, they're great as reviewers to have them sitting around. And yeah, this should be you know, a little bit better, I think, for most folks. Because for one, if you don't like the sheep's foot, you don't have to have that. But I like the sheep's foot and I like the steel and I like this ugly ass handle. For some reason, it's just different. It's cool. It feels cool. It's ridgy. Lots of ridges, like one after another. Just grippy as. More specific in its use, and so I like it a bit more for that, I think. Thank you. I like the live streams too. That is interesting that they're not laminating their 45. I'll be interested to see how it goes with rust. Spyderco Smock looks cool. That does. It just has a weird gap between the blade and the handle, which I'm sure will be fine in practice, but in theory I can't quite see it yet. Alright, I'm not sure if you know this, but you can flip the lower rod guide to get, lower. Someone was telling me that's the, Dino's put a video up on that. Yes. You should really just strop the polished edge, lasting longer could just be the leftover burr breaking off and the apex not being as clean. I can see your point, but with the KME, if you do enough of these forward strokes, you really can see there is no burr by the end of it. So by the end of the process, you're doing one of these, and then you're flipping over, and you just do that like dozens and dozens of times. And then by the end of it, you can look at it, and I do look with my little Victorinox microscope, and to the naked eye and to the feel as well, I can't see particularly any burr going on. So I'm pretty happy that's not the case. And but yeah, you're right, it's a consideration. It's just when I start to strop, I guess it starts to say, people could start to say, well, that's not a toothy edge anymore because the strop, maybe the compound tore it off, tore off some of those teeth, and it's a funny old thing. Lots of variables in my head all the time. I've got no doubt that you're probably onto something there, but I find it really hard to choose which ones to let in and let out. Now, do I have a preferred lock type? Well, I probably am fond of just good old frame locks and liner locks and lockbacks. The compression lock is really nice. It can bite into the back of your hand a little bit when you squeeze and cut. And this is just from a, borderline, ASD person who can just cut rope for hours and hours. So yeah, that's probably a problem that only really affects me, but yeah, it's not my favorite because of that. I just like the more standard locks, but strap lock on the Buck Marksman is pretty damn cool once you get the hang of it, that's for sure. Strap lock, whatever they call this. Even still, I've been out of practice and it's bouncing on me, so it takes a bit of time. Very cool lock there. Hawks make some cool locks. Speaking of another cool lock, check this one out. This is the Boca grip lock. So it's like a flipper tab, flip that up, and then this is held in place by your hand squeezing it. Interesting knife, huh? But you can also lock it at the end to make it so it's a bit stronger. Yeah, that's another G&G Hawk knife. Those two, I think it's father and son, they really make some crazy locks. Now, back to the questions. I'll try and get them all. Which brand has the most insufferable fanboys and why is it Spyderco? Well, I speak about this in my 3V review as well. And my goodness, I mentioned a few things, a few misnomers in my Survive Knives review. I think I called the finish, I forgot to call the finish peened or something. The G10, the micarta, sorry. Geez, if I called it G10, it would have been even worse. I said the micarta finish was just rough rather than whatever it was, micro machined or whatever. And I got like proper savage emails in my inbox, and even like wall of text comments about they could not enjoy my review. They were they could not stand hearing like that I have no education, and if I just educate myself, then I'll be able to produce better content. Like really, like as if I'd mislabeled like an ethnic group or something like that. Was the kind of that you usually get. Like the emails, everything except Instagram just blew up for about 3 days after. It obviously went around a message board or something, and wow, I got told. So that was a little bit insufferable, I must say. I mean, I'm sure they're probably like me, where when you're really interested in something, it does kind of make you twitch every time you hear the wrong stuff being said. I get that, but wow, that was full on. Like, I always thought, oh, it's going to be Cold Steel. It's going to be Cold Steel. I do those videos with the dumbass intros where, I more or less make fun of the company entirely. I do like Cold Steel though, so maybe that comes through enough. But yeah, I thought it's going to be Cold Steel. Nothing from them. Even nothing from Cold Steel, nothing from the fans. They're happy to see it in video, I think. But yeah, so that was a little bit funny. It's not the brands as much, although interesting, there's been a few funny people with zero tolerance I've noticed with my buddy Nero with his zero tolerance lock fail stuff going on. That looks a bit intense because people just hate to see that happen. And it's good when you can show them, so it's not just all talk, but geez, when they can see it happen, that really upsets them because you're doing it wrong. You're setting this up. You've bent all these too far, and you want this to happen. It's like, I don't think you want all your knives to have failing locks. So that's a little bit funny as well. But in terms of groups of brands, I haven't come across too many. Emerson fans are pretty happy to jump in and correct you, but that's cool. I mean, correction is correction, I guess. And even with the Survive fans, they're just correcting me. It doesn't really hurt me or anything, but yeah, they care a lot more. Take that for what it is. Cool. All right. Whoa, a few questions. Sorry, I wanted a bit of a monologue there. Greyholm, that's a good question. What was that? Will steel ever be replaced by complicated alloys? Well, that is a good question. There is some cool stuff going on with cobalt and with stellite and things like that. Non-magnetics is pretty impressive. I would not be surprised if in 50 years' time there is either a new elemental combination or a new... the periodic table is always in flux. You just don't know, do you? Like, they might just get out iron entirely from blades and have, just some other base for it. Like, it's really, really interesting. And it's not so far-fetched to say that, steel might not even be the primary choice of a blade in the future. You just don't know. And that's a really cool question. I tried to get some cobalt knives from a company that makes cobalt knives. I showed them these tests that I do, and the dialogue ended right then. So they weren't interested in me doing my cobalt. I can't remember who they were. I think it was Sandrin. I asked them, and they left me on red. I felt like an unwanted hookup. Left me on red, man. Really? So they just weren't interested in. And I wasn't asking for a free one. I just asked them, hey, I'm thinking of getting one of your knives. So I didn't say, hey, can I have a free one? Thinking of getting one. Can I? Would it do well on this test? Red. No response. So, but stellite is an interesting substance, and I'm sure there's a few others that others can name. Good question. As a scout, don't see the point into spider holes. As a scout, you don't see the point to spider holes. Well, I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter, does it? The spider hole. What are the negatives of a spider hole? They make the blade a bit taller. That's true. Unless you have like the Spyderco Advocate here, which has only marginally humped the blade. I would say it's good for clearance, but it is bad for filling up with stuff, for sure. Hey, Chris. Bad for filling up with stuff, definitely. But I just don't see the negatives as much. But apart from the heightening of some blades this way is a little bit much. I can see that as from a design sense. This is the Advocate, by the way, another knife to be reviewed. This is probably the nicest Spyderco I think you can get now, because they've no more Schleich, no more Nirvana until the new one comes out. This is pretty damn fancy. They polish it on these edges here, orange peel it here. It's just lovely. Bit of a pocket pecker, as Nick would say, and a bit of a lock issue. It's just hard to. Well, it's not hard, but it's not enjoyable to lock and unlock. It's a bit stiff, and you don't get much finger clearance. But apart from that. Anyway, so that's spider holes. I don't see the big deal, apart from if you think they're ugly, which there is nothing I can say to change that. So there you go. Cool. What YouTubers do I recommend for sharpening knowledge? Big Brown Bear, Michael Christie, Weeder Fan, for sure, for stone sharpening. Hell, Nick Shabazz can sharpen the heck out of stuff with his KME. That's a no-brainer as well. Nero Knives, Strop Back. There's a few good ones going around, and if you know any more, feel free to chuck them in. Have I ever looked at the possible future of applying nanotechnology into knives? It already exists, but it's not practical for mass production. Well, I haven't looked into it, but I can only imagine the possibilities. Rust proofing and stick proofing for one. And obviously, really, really fine structuring on a nanotech level of edges and all sorts. Crazy good. Not to mention handles as well. So, you could do a lot with nanotech, for sure. Favorite handled material for a bushcraft or survival knife? I like micarta, but I also like just rubber overmold. And I can see rubber overmold fails for like your hardcore bushcrafters, the guys with the giant rough Dave Canterbury hands that are working away, and it's interesting. But I don't find the rubber wears away for me. So there we go. Cool. Getting there, Michael Christie. Yes, they're great. Do I like guys or girls? I like girls. My wife's a girl, so I like girls. But I think we're all somewhere on the Kinsey scale, aren't we? So there's full on straight, there's full on gay, somewhere in the middle. I'm definitely up this end. Ask Kevin Smock about the shape of that forward choil. He says the angle looks like you cut your finger. He says it won't, but man, it looks spooky to me. When am I testing out a Puko knife with a very high grind? Silver steel Pukos? I've not heard of silver steel Pukos. When looking for a knife, do you take on to consideration who your chick is banging because you're into knives instead of guns? Yes, gun people often go straight for the masculinity, don't they? It's an interesting phenomena. No. Now, do you watch Michael Emler on YouTube? He's super American but pretty knowledgeable. No. Huge Erection. I just saw the name. Oh, I love. One of my commenters is called Hugh Janus as well. That just tickles me. So prices like 220, I think. Benchmades are 300 Aussie dollars. These are about 150. The Buck Marksman. Soon to come, the Akuto Steeled. Big rundown of this. These are about probably $60 knives. The Kaiser Tangrams, very good. Advocates are pricey. These are like 300 and something bucks, I reckon, in Australia. So yeah, there's a pretty high price range there. ZT fanboys were bad with the S35. I got a bit of shit from that, but I probably should have just tested more, and that might have helped. So probably on me as well. I should have kept those two knives and just, you know, absolutely exhausted myself like I did with I learned from that, and that's why I went on crazy with the M390, because I learned from that, because people were like, oh, this is, you know, I gave them things that they could, I left enough open areas they could still jump into with criticism. So that's why with the M390, I tested it in like every way before I sent it back. Righto. So ZT is bad. Falcon even fanboys, yeah, they can be pretty intense. Bark River. You know what? The fixed blade companies, people really put their heart into their fixed blade. I think it's because there's that idea that they could, you know, that whole life saving. It's a bit more of an intense circle, I think. So if you have the EDC circle and the fixed blade survival circle, these chaps are a little bit more intense, I reckon. And so I think you get that intensity come across pretty well. Any knife that's sold as hard use, or like a knife that could be a life-saving type item, I mean, obviously all could, but when they're sold as that, they generally attract the more intense folk. So, and you can even apply that to like the folding knives too. Like when, you know, ZTs market themselves as beasts and as really strong, and so people get a bit more invested in the idea that they're maybe of higher integrity or something. Interesting. I'm not commenting on it apart from just pointing it out. So there's something I kind of notice. Am I worried Survival Lily might review the Spidey Chef? If she did, I'd be very interested to see what she says. I don't think she would use a folding knife myself. Favorite sharpener and favorite steel for EDC knives, LC200N and the KME. SM100 is the best steel. Yeah, that's a newer one, isn't it? I'm not versed in SM100. Spade Knife Works for sharpening, yes, for sure. Outdoors 55, yes indeed. Apostle P, yes. All these are good sharpening resources. Ooh, I actually have to, this is earlier than usual, but I actually have to head off in a sec. I have to run out and pick my wife up. So I'll just do a couple of more, and I'll do this unboxing later on. I might do a video of it. Actually, fuck it, I'll do it now. So this is two knives that Chris has sent me to test. So this was in the pipeline for a long, long time, and these are two new steels. Two new steels, new to the channel steels. Rightio. Two fixed blade knives. Oh, these are awesome. Haven't even looked at them yet. So one is in Vanax by Shannon Blades. One in Vanax, new steel. I'm sorry, I have to go and pick up my wife. I'll see you all later, guys. But Vanax and Zfinite coming to the channel soon. Am I back? Can you hear me again? Yes, good. Sorry, I don't have to go out straight away, so I can come and pick her up shortly. So yes, back to what I was showing you, these excitedly unpacked knives, Vanax and Zfinite. So these will be a series of tests. They've made them sort of thicker stock, and I think right now, I'm not sure how sharp they've worried about putting them now. Definitely sharp enough right now. So yes, Shannon knives, I will, yeah, so they're sort of working sort of factory style edges, but they're obviously going to get the whole full works. So very, very cool. These aren't mine. Chris has got these from himself and he sent them to me to test and then send back. So I'm not going to absolutely destructo test them, but yes, I will most certainly give them a good old workout. So I will slide back up and see some other questions. Sorry, my phone was, I got a message saying I'm ready, and then I got a call saying I'm not ready. So, and geez, you bite the peach bites back $5. What does that mean? Did you send me a super chat? That's nice of you. Good on you, sir. Thank you. I don't know how that works or not. I assume it goes somewhere that is good. But good. Now, so I'll scroll back up. Carbojet. Get a job, bum. Trump's #1. This is rubbish. Oh. Cool. I can't. Alrighty. Yep, so Outdoors 55 is one of the best in sharpening tutorials. He is cool. He's a nice dude too. He did some steel testing once. I think I talked about this last time. Wasn't his thing. Didn't love it. And I could totally see why. But yeah, he's a good watch. His channel is good. And he always does unusual things, unique things, which is good to see. Cool. New native knife enthusiasts. Have I considered the Spyderco Reinhold Rhino? Not usually a small knife fan, but it's growing on me. You know what? The one thing that bothers me about that one, and this is so superficial and lame, is that from all accounts, the compression lock isn't like the fun compression lock like this one is. It's kind of more of it's a very practical lock, but you can't do all this cool shit with it. So, because I think the blade's just a little bit too light. I'm not sure if it's for me, to be honest. Now, Mr. Negative Cobra Jet, disliking everything, boo. Now, have I done any testing on dendritic steels such as cast 440C? I looked at the Spyderco Serrata in cast 440C, and that's the only time I've heard dendritic steel sold on a production knife. So a lot of the steels that are a bit out there like that, you have to go custom to get. But yeah, the Serrata, it may well come to the channel at one point or another because I like the look of the knife and I like the sound of that steel. It's kind of a cool thing from the sounds of it. Now, Ligma balls. That's been a cool little meme going on lately. I hear Ninja is suffering from Ligma. Cobra Jet is off his meds. Cobra Jet, Ric Flair, drip, woo. Yeah, Cobra Jet is letting fly. Sorry, that wasn't the end after all. Which knife company has the most questionable steel? Like didn't perform like it should? Was it ZT? Well, there's been a few. It's very rare, but there was the ZT. I had a 0909 and a 0450. Is that the Sinkovich? The little small Sinkovich. And both of them, I just couldn't get them to take good edges. And then I had some D2 from Y-Start, Y-Start D2. And then I had there's the M390, of course, from Steel Will, which was, as I said before, I learned a lot from the previous steels, the ZT ones, in leaving myself open to like, hey, you didn't try this, you didn't try that. So with that one, I tried absolutely everything. Wouldn't work. And Kizelyar's D2 was a bit off as well for me too. And Vipers as well. So yeah, there's been a few funny ones. D2 is the big one. Some of it's up here, some of it's really down here, and I'm not sure if it's labeling or if it's just the treatment. So interesting stuff. Okay, which knife company had the most questionable steel? That was one. The new steel is going to be awesome. Yes, Vanex is said to be really time-consuming heat treat for best results. We'll see how they did. Yeah, he's back. Yes, I am back. Hello, Mark from Canada. Oh, you have a Serrata, Chad? How do you find the Serrata? Is it a big knife? I can't tell from the images of it whether it is a big knife or not, but it looks big. Can you do an MDF stropping? Is that where you put an MDF wheel on your grinder? I think I've seen someone do that for that, $1 knife sharpening technique. But yeah, sharpest knife I've sharpened myself. I would say that probably those Tormek edges, these shiny edges are really quite scary as well from time to time. Like my LC200N right now, which I don't have on me, my Spidey Chef, is pretty damn sharp because I've redone it I've redone the bloody edge on it. So since I've done the testing, and that's pretty sharp too. But yes, it's a little heavy. Oh, is that the Serrata? A bit heavy fat stock in the handle with extreme distal taper. Base wood might be better than MDF if you use diamonds. I've used a diamond spray. I've seen all these little sharpening hack videos. I'm never sure how much of a hack it actually is, because for me, I'd have to actually spend a fair bit of time setting up an MDF wheel. But then if it works like that, then it's pretty cool. Sharpest factory production knives. I'm not sure. Cold steels are generally pretty darn sharp. I think I specifically remember the Broken Skull being frighteningly sharp, like as in it had been sharpened really, really well. And I think it was quite a long and unwieldy blade, like a little bit, like more blade to keep track of. So I think I might have nicked myself a couple of times. It seemed very, very sharp. A wood block, not a wheel. Okay. All right. That's those wooden strops I see folks using. Yes, indeed. This was really sharp as well from the factory, the LC200N on this Spyderco here. And yeah, so that was probably my answer. It's funny, I usually resharpen so quickly that I don't usually take too much stock. Apart from the review, I would generally test the factory edge for review, but factory edges are generally disappointing. Are we going to make any more videos on Scandi blades? 1095 went from 75 to 130. Well, this is a Scandi blade right here, and it's getting KME'd. So I dare say once I've KME'd the shit out of this one, it's all mirrory and flash, then yeah, I reckon I'll do that. I'll edge test that. Yeah, the Scandis are difficult though. This turns out that this is pretty much 17 degrees. I use my phone, I've got the phone things, it's like, goes between 18 and 16. On the Tormek angle card, it looks like it's 17. So luckily this Scandi here is 17. Often they're not though, often they're like steeper or shallower or whatever. So hard to like nail it down and have consistent comparable data, but on an individual sense, I'm always happy to edge test enough because I enjoy it. BP Broken Skull was kind of dull. Yeah, it's production world, I guess, isn't it? You never know what you're going to get. Super sharp Gerber Covert Auto. Good job, Gerber. And a Spyderco S90V Tig Stick. Yeah, I can imagine S90V takes a spooky sharp edge. It's like M4, like that. And Gerber, good job, Gerber. You feel like you need to give them a good old head rustle every now and then when they do something well. Their American knives aren't as shit as, you know, it's just they got that big Chinese knife division that they just make odd choices. They make a really cool looking knife and then they'll put it in really low rent steel and really low budget. So yeah, I guess they do what they sell, don't they? Overall thoughts, experience with Chris Reeve knives. Well, I've handled 2 Chris Reeves. I owned a Bog Oak Sebenza, and I actually have 3. And I tried a large Sebenza when I was looking at Sebenzas. A good internet guy sent me his just to try and then send back. So, and then I tried it, my Bog Oak next to my Carter one in my Carter Inkosi rather, which I then sent both back to the buyer because he bought my Bog Oak one. Because when a knife is that expensive, and this is my problem with the Sleesh Bowie as well, I am not confident to use them. I don't know why. Like I can't get past seeing the dollar signs in the when I look at it, I'm like, am I getting, because it's like 600 Australian bucks to have a Sebenza in your hand, and I'm thinking, am I getting that much just from use, or would I get the same level of value from the awesome Buck Marksman, for example, with its, you know, super cool lock. The steel is, you know, frankly, 154 cm is punching above its, its category. Stuff like this keeps me coming back, whereas stuff that's really expensive and singular, I generally freak out a bit to actually use and scuff up. All I can see is depreciation on resale. Gonna review the KME? Yeah, man, I will review it once I'm comfortable to review it. It's one of those things, if I was to review it now, I'd probably get the sharpening crowd saying, you're doing this wrong. Go back, learn how to use it, young fella, young sunny Jim, sunny boy, and then come back and give us a review later, sport. Get some nice condescending comments like that. So I'm just holding off until I'm actually comfortable to say, pretty sure I've got this. So that is what's going on there. How am I liking the KME? Very much, thank you. The Gerber's USA stuff ain't bad, I agree. Now, do I know what DPS how do you know what DPS to sharpen your knife at? Well, I guess it depends on a few things, but generally between 17 and 20 is very safe. So you're not going to get edge roll issues. I would argue between 15 and 17 is pretty safe for EDC as well, with most steels that are made to be actual steels. The only real failures I've had in terms of edges rolling is those Z Hunter knives, they actually fail when you take them down really low angles. But the advice I would say is you get yourself some kind of system that has a guide in it and use the lowest one on that guide because it's probably going to be 17 degrees and that's going to be absolutely fine. Yes, the angles. Oh, and in how do you know what DPS it is? Yes, you can get angle finders. You can get an angle cube. There's a few different ways, I guess. But yeah, the angle cubes are probably regarded as the best ones. They're often magnetic and sit on the back of sharpening arms. Pretty cool. Own a marksman at the Legacy collection. I don't know what that is, but if it's a marksman, it's cool because this one is cool. I think if you're going to keep the knife, use it no matter the price, but if you're going to resale, don't use it much. Yes, and I think that is true with my Sebenza. I wasn't sure. And it was a great user. Like, you could use it really, really easily. It was good. But, and they're quality knives, but I just couldn't get that. I'm not a rich man. I just couldn't get that price out of my head. Some knife guys have like dozens of really expensive knives. I can sustain having like one tops at a time because I am quite a user. I'm a bit of a mad scientist type. I'll look at it and I'm either like, I'm going to either sell that or I'm going to put a 3-degree edge on it and see if it explodes. So this is my problem. It's not Chris Reeves' problem at all. Don't like folders over 350 for that reason. Yeah, 350 would be my point as well. Hey Brad, a mate you sucked into collecting picked up another Cuterman today. Brad is an advocate for Cuterman. Rightly so, because Cuterman make good fixed blade knives. It's got a Scandi grind, feels heavier than the MT5 but is marginally smaller. 130 in the MOVA 58. MOVA is interesting when they say that because a lot of these Spanish makers will call stills like MOVA or Chromo or CRMO, and it's often just a 440 series of stainless. So I'd be very interested to see what it was and how it went, for sure. I could do a very trolly review of the KME that would get a few dislikes. Often I do videos and I'm thinking, I'm almost disappointed when they don't get more dislikes. The couple of Cold Steel ones I did with the silly, like, now you're a man intros, I was like, I'm going to get like 15 dislikes, 20 dislikes on this for sure. Not as much, but yeah, you have to actually start saying wrong shit to get dislikes and get, the hate. And yeah, that would definitely get some hate because sharpening folks get pretty impassioned about doing things right. That's definitely true. Now, 1819, powerful K9 in terms of his degrees per second. It's good, safe, do it. Have I done any sharpness or angle durability tests on the Case, SS, or CV, or Damascus? Well, I've got some Case, SS, and CV here. I guess it's only a matter of time. 17 degrees on a Rat D2. Sounds good to me, man. It has the GSO 4.7 holding up. Any new experiences I can tell you about? Well, I did the... it's Miss Kitty. She's my outside cat. I did the edge test today with it. And I gave some spoilers out to the folks before, but this did better with its polished edge than with its coarse edge. So that was an experience. And I've taken it out on a bushwalk about a week and a half ago, which was cool. But I didn't really use it that much. Oh, it's really awkward when you take a knife out to use and you use it like 3 times and you're like, you have this idea that it's me and my knife going to go on an adventure and be all... but it's high quality, that's for sure. But I'm getting towards the stage where I think I only need 1 fixed blade, maybe 2 or 3, maybe 6, who knows. But really, my fixed blade collection, it swells and then it goes because I do this. I find that I'm not actually using them. Cool. Are knives in New Zealand more expensive? Yeah, just a little bit. So Australia's a little bit more expensive than the US, and then New Zealand's a little bit more expensive than Australia, but only by a small amount. D2's pretty good as long as you don't batten rocks. Agreed. Thoughts on D2 as a survival knife steel? Aroma 305 in D2. There's a lot of different viewpoints on it, and the thing is, I'm not like a hardcore survival guy. I haven't been to any survival schools. I do survivalist stuff with my knives, like in my backyard to show that they kind of can. And, apart from a couple of really high-profile fails that I've had with D2, which was the Boca Voxrold, I guess, which was just one, so why am I saying a couple? But apart from that, I haven't really seen an issue. But then you get people who seem to know a bit more than me. I always quote, I always think of Jake over at Prepper's Bunker Outdoors. A bit more of an intense cat than myself, but seems to know more about survival stuff, and he doesn't rate it for survival knives. So... I don't know. I wouldn't say too much because I don't know too much, I guess, is the main message there. But it seems to do fine with my like pretty reasonable testing that I do on it. Like I'll properly test a knife. I don't want to say it's great and then people go and buy it and it explodes. So yeah. Cool. Thanks for my work on the case steels. Yes, I was interested in those as well because they actually perform quite well, and I had always slagged off the True Sharp like crazy, like the butt that I sometimes am. And I was wrong. You like the trolley videos? I like them too, but I don't have the energy to face too much furor at once, so I space them out. But the trolley videos end up going okay. It's more, with me, the videos that I tend to do that end up trolling people are the ones that I don't mean to, so the ones that I'm just wrong or something, and people would just like get triggered or whatever you'd say. Don't forget about Basil. I won't. I'll go and fetch him in a second. Okay, how do I test the cutting performance rather than edge retention? Well, that's a tricky one to test in any form of repetitive scientific test. Nero does a good thing where he cuts cardboard, and he postulates, and probably quite accurately, that these flat grinds that we always say are really great and slicey are actually not as great for cardboard as a good old hollow grind, or as a good old, yeah, this is a hollow grind. Because he reckons this negative space here that's caused by the hollow actually parts the material and sends it flying apart quite nicely. So interesting stuff. But yeah, I can't actually think of a test that just is demonstrable, because yeah, I could cut rope and say how it feels, but that's just me going on really. So I'm not sure, man. Where we're gonna get my cool. I need to say something like S30V is a shit. Yeah, S30V is a shit still for EDC. Spyderco is a shit knives. I miss old mate Killer Deegan as well. He might be back under a different handle. I'm not sure, but he was one of my first and longest commenters, and he used to send me stuff. And it was sad. His YouTube account got ban-hammered. I think for some. It wasn't for his videos, just for his comments. So it sucked, but yeah. I hope he'll be back someday. When I'm going to get my original Loveless, when I win the lottery. Wow. Well, you did have that fail with the Bear Grylls Ultimate Pro. Yeah, that's true. Snapped that off in a tree all that time ago. Bought a buck 110. Had one years ago. Oldie but a goodie. I haven't handled a buck 110. What kind of knife guy am I? Well, not in a long-term sense. I've played with them, but I haven't reviewed one or anything. My buck 110 sucks. Well, you do see with buck a bit. You get a bit of a mixed bag from time to time. However, I can confirm, marksman is awesome. And how's it going, brother? Doing all right? I am doing all right. Gonna break any more fixed blades? Not on purpose, but you never know. 1075 from machete would be better than 420 HC. Stainless sucks when it's used for anything bigger than knives. Yeah, that's possible. True. Yeah. I haven't had many stainless slide machetes. 1075 though, I'm doing a video when working on it on a good cheap knife versus a shit cheap knife. This should be a good video once I get it done. So what I've got here, these knives are like the same price here. So this was $47, and this is a Spec Plus Alpha Survival, right? 1075 steel, holds its edge like 1075 does, which is nothing to snort at, but you know, not 3V. This is a Winchester short, what do they call this, the short fixed blade. This is like $38. So yeah, it's $10 cheaper, but like the differences are so huge. And these are the knives that if you go into an Australian like camping shop, there's going to be this shit everywhere in there, and it's just garbage. It's the handles ill-fitting, the steel, the grind's all wonky, the steel is just basic stainless. This is the sort of stuff that I'm zeroing in on with the whole don't buy shitty steel, because this is the shitty steel. Even the 8CRs, even maybe the 7CRs, I don't know, all of them compared to this garbage, yeah. But yeah, 1075, good stuff. You just reminded me, that's all. Don't get an Essie. Essie's all right. They're very pricey, but you have one forever, I guess. So you have to do a bit of regrinding, or not regrind, reprofiling to make it cut the way I like it to cut. That's true. Ooh. So it's not Basil, but it's Lemon. She's happy to come and play for a little bit. Hey, Mrs. Lemon. The cat without a face. Look at her from the side. She has no profile. Don't like that, do you? No profile on this kitty. Jeez. Yeah, Essie are funny. They have their lovers and they have their haters. That's another impassioned fan base for sure. But yeah, I have had fine experiences with Essie. I just like the edges a little bit thick at first, but they're survival knives, so hey. Looking forward to the Caribbean tests. Big FO, big fuck off machetes. No, I've got my RTAC too, but that's not huge, I guess. But no, machete in my part of the world isn't the most commonly used tool. Nothing wrong with 1095, nothing at all. Was my fat cat really playful when he was young? When did it get up on life? Basil is still a rather playful kitty. Like at night time, he goes crazy and he chases this one around. Oh, she's got a wet face. Cause she's got no face, she has to just dump her whole head in the water to drink. She just plops it in. And so she gets wet like for her whole face. She's so dumb. This animal shouldn't exist. This is human arrogance, this animal here. Like, look at it. That shouldn't happen. But it does, and we love her. But if I'm talking pure Darwinism, come on, like, they get all gunk in their face, they're smushed up. Just a disaster. Just a disaster. Something like that. Yeah. Ears back. She's in attack mode. Yes, she is. Cool. Get out in the wild and sharpen that super steel on a rock and see how it goes. Well, I sharpened the 3V on a little crappy pocket sharpener and it did okay, but yeah, you're right. And that's why I like what Jake says on his channel. He likes the steels that are just easy to sharpen, like easy to sharpen on the go and all that sort of stuff. And I can totally see that on a large actual user outdoor knife. So I need to head off in about 5 minutes because that's when my ride is due. So SE, more SE talk. Yes, the warranty increases the value. I would say the warranty is worth an extra like $30 or something. That peace of mind. It's like buying insurance for your knife, really, isn't it? The cat's awesome. Yeah, she's all right. S35V on an XHP. I prefer XHP. Ever used a cleaver type fixed blade on outdoors tasks? Well, you can see my review of the SE cleaver. I don't quite see the merits, to be honest. They're fun, and fun is a merit for sure. Fun is definitely a merit, but yeah, I wouldn't say that it would be anyone's real primary choice. I wouldn't suggest. Now, $100 SE4 1095 or the whole Cold Steel Master Hunter 3V. What would I go for? That really does depend. Depends on what you're using it for. If you're coming back enough, like, and it's not for longer trips, maybe the 3V. They're both great. Hard to pick between the two. Get both. Get the knife sickness. Martindale Golocks, heavy but solid and can be sharpened on a rock. Oh yeah, I have a Australian Army Golock in the shed. Chris, it's still here, man. I've got to do a review on it at one point or another, but that's a really cool, big, and probably not too expensive machete. Did Cold Steel discontinue the Lawman? They've discontinued it in XHP, releasing it soon in S35VN. I know, right? Everyone's a bit sad about that one. M390 or M390 or M4 coated. Ooh. I would say the versatility of M390 is hard to say no to. If you're paying the same price for both of them, I would get the M390, but if you're getting the M4 for a little bit cheaper, maybe the M4. I don't know. The only extra use I can think of is bear grills and striking flint on it. Yeah. Got a sword Golock. Awesome chopper. I believe you. SE Laser Strike doesn't hold an edge. I'd give it a shot at thinning it out a bit first, because often those factory edges like this, when an edge is like this, it can go like this pretty quickly. So give it a shot doing that first, see if that improves things or not. The heat treat's generally pretty spot on, but they do treat it for toughness rather than edge retention, that's for sure. And that is right, the most valuable advice of the day. To each his own, we all like different things. And another thing I find is that you can very rarely convince someone to change their mind unless you show them very compelling reason as to why. So I always find that with brands and with even these steel tests. That's why I do so much of them, because I think it's nice to be able to show people compelling reasons and lengthy testing and data. That's the only way you can really change a mind, I think, in this day and age. You need to actually show them. Well, Silky have some great choppers. The saw makers. I didn't know they did that. Ooh, Buck Marksman or American Lawman as a beater. This could definitely be a beater. It's a very strong lock, very nice knife. 154 cm, not as edge retaining as the XHP, but this one's more fun, that's for sure. Don't know, man. Finally become less of a steel snob as I get better sharpening. Yes, I had a bit of an epiphany at the end of that FAQ video, if you watched that. yeah, I am now just buying whatever knives I think look cool, because you can generally get decent enough performance out of most steels. Cool, guys. I have to go to find my last question. Less of a steel stub. Oh no, last question. It's not a question. Spyderco Mule series. Could I get different geometries with different steel? You could get consistent geometries, different steels. Yes. They've discontinued the mules. They don't make them anymore though. There's no more mule program. As far as I'm aware, someone told me that the other day. But yeah, that'd just be so expensive. Anyway, I must go. I have to pick up my wife. Thank you all for your attention. I'll be back making more videos later on. Bye, guys.